Hi, it's Steve Riley. Welcome to this episode of Great Practice, Great Life. Today, I am thrilled to bring back a well-known thinker in the field of innovation who's going to talk to us about human creativity in the time of artificial intelligence. So everybody, welcome Carla Johnson. So Carla, welcome back.
Thanks, Steve. It's great to be back. It's been a little while. I appreciate you inviting me.
Well, it's great to have you back. I realize it's been a while, but it doesn't mean that you haven't been on my mind. We are helping a lot of lawyers, so we're our community Atticus, we're really focusing on trying to help lawyers think about, understand, and embrace the use of AI in their practices, and it's a scary thing, like, it's a pretty disruptive change, and a lot of lawyers are a little panicked about it, and I'm like, "Well, who can I help them who can I bring in to help them think about this?" Because I keep telling the lawyers, it's not that AI will probably replace you, but a lawyer who understands AI probably will replace you. So there's a lot of lawyers that are up there that are very freaked, for lack of a better word, and they see themselves at risk in being eliminated. And paralegals, team leaders, a lot of folks are feeling that way. And you are an innovation architect.
Oh, I'm delighted, Steve. And I always have such a great time because you even challenge me in what I believe and what I think and seeing the world from a little different perspective, which I think is what creative thinking and innovation is all about.
Well, that's very kind of you. That's very, very kind of you. Thank you. So, where would you like to start with this conversation?
I think one of the things, and you and I chatted about this a little bit before we came on the show, is AI is actually something that's been around for quite a while, right?
Yes.
And so this big rush of everything of the trigger that caused everybody to freak out is just that it became more accessible with ChatGPT about 24 months ago, like, a little over 2 years. And with that, I think it's a really wonderful piece of evidence about change in general. A lot of times change knocks on your door and it knocks and it knocks and it knocks and we ignore it. And whether that changes your competition, whether it's the marketplace, whether it's your customer or your client or how they buy or whatever it is, how you recruit people, we ignore it for as long as we possibly can. And then there comes that day where it just slaps us in the face and we can't ignore it anymore if we intend to stay in business. And I think with AI and the release of ChatGPT, that's probably one of the most powerful things for us to understand about business and especially AI. It's been around for years and you said it yourself. Like you were talking about this more than a decade ago. How do we start to turn on our curiosity? Because curiosity is an incredible characteristic of creative people, creative problem solvers, innovative thinkers. And we can't be scared and curious at the same time. And it's a beautiful thing when we start to look at the world from the perspective of asking questions rather than just deciding these are the way that things are and this is how I have to feel in response. And I think by activating that curiosity, when we think about what kids are like and their curiosity, they find something that's unfamiliar and they don't know and they really dive down that rabbit hole. Well, what if we just started to dive down the rabbit hole of AI, of ChatGPT, of Claude, or whatever platform that you use, and just play with it? And we know, like in play, we know everything isn't going to be perfect. Otherwise, it would be, something more strategic and sophisticated. And that takes all the fun out of it. So I think if we can start to approach AI and how we can use it and how we can take advantage of it from that main basic characteristic of curiosity, I think that's going to alleviate a lot of the freak out feeling that we have of our world is just completely different than what it was just a few years ago.
That's fantastic. I have to tell you, I loved your definition of ideas. That was fantastic because that's one of the great things that you've done, and one of the great things you contribute to our community is you're thinking about how to organize your own definitions and framework around ideas. So a reliable idea is really great because you can ship it. It's a
Yeah, absolutely. Right.
and then but backing away from the stress and the seriousness by looking at the play element of, okay, don't panic about this. And you have a term for this in your book. I think you call it applied curiosity.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's really what you're arguing for. It's just be curious, apply the curiosity. Don't freak, don't stress. Now, the other element of this is what you referenced before is the ethics of this. So I believe right now, Florida was the first state that gave ethical guidance. I believe California, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, um, and I can't think if there's any other states that have actually said, if you're a lawyer, this is how you want to take in consideration. And one of the things that the bars appropriately have said is ethically, you can't bill clients for the work that you normally would charge 6 hours for to summarize that deposition would take you 4 minutes. You have to, you know, to charge
Sure.
appropriately.
Yeah.
So you're seeing the conflict, not conflict, but you're seeing lawyers trying to figure out how to be ethically appropriate in their profession, along with looking for shortcuts to make things quicker, faster, and cheaper. The second thing is, we saw a lawyer by the name, I'll just say Becky right now. So Becky, I don't wanna say her name because her whole name, but she used it in preparation for a jury trial.
Uh-huh.
And so she used ChatGPT to communicate a theme to the jury and used it kind of a research assistant, an organizational assistant, and a artist to create graphic images. And the reason I don't want to talk about the case too much is my understanding is now up on appeal. She won a very hard case in front of a jury, but she used it in that particular way. The area that most lawyers are now using it and using it very comfortably is in marketing because there's, I think, right now about 4 or 5 cases where lawyers use ChatGPT as a shortcut for legal research. They did not cross check the work
Oh,
and it hallucinated. And so in federal court, a case in Canada, a case here in Florida, the lawyer filed briefs, legal documents under oath saying that this is, I certify in writing this stuff is true. And this is my, research, etc. And they cited hallucinated cases. And as you can appreciate, the judges were not particularly pleased with that, and all the lawyers have suffered some form of ethical repercussion. So most lawyers are afraid to get too intense with it in a research perspective. However, from a marketing perspective, as a shortcut to create white papers, create content marketing, to create posts, social media posts, to revise agreements, to revise engagement letters, to just make life simpler.
it's people with the curiosity to dive in and just sit and ask, like, what are the possibilities here? And I know I use it a lot for writing in terms of because I write so much as a writer, not everything comes out perfect the first time. So I get it down, I get it close. It's not unusual for me. I have a chunk of writing that I've done in the past that I really like. I drop that into Chat GPT. I say, summarize this writing style. And then I take the other writing that I've done, drop it into Chat GPT and say, revise this writing to match that previous writing style. So it saves me a whole lot of editing time. I still have to go back and write it and make sure that it sounds like me. Because one of the things I want to make sure is that when people meet me versus read my work, it sounds like the same person. And that's really important to me in my writing. And so having that as a tool helps make that more efficient, more productive. And I
Yeah, it's
think
really
about
it, it
that's an easy use for a market from a marketing perspective, especially for law firms when you have a voice and a tone for your audience.
any last words of advice about thinking about AI?
I think my biggest piece of advice is try it every chance you can in every different kind of situation. Because I think the way you realize the potential of anything is to push your own comfort zone. And I think there's a huge area of discomfort with it. But the only way that we're really going to adapt it and realize its whole potential is for us to be creative about what's possible.
I love it. All right, Carla, thank you for being here. Thanks for your brilliance. Every time I talk to you, I learn something, I have a good laugh, and I have a great time. And I just want to say thanks. Thanks for everything that you're doing for our community and the contribution that you made today. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure to spend time with you, Steve, and another great conversation. I really enjoyed it.